Hi ladies, welcome to the first session of the Clean Beauty with Oils workshop. Welcome, I'm so glad you're here. I want to talk about two things. What you put on and in our bodies matter. So those are the two things I'm going to talk about today, is why it matters what we put on our bodies and why it matters what we put in our bodies. So I first want to tell you a story about my son. He is 13 years old, and I was introduced to essential oils when he was about 18 months. And it was because he was having a bunch of ammonia issues. We couldn't figure out why he was having these dark circles under his eyes. He was admitted to the hospital several times. Hi Gail, hi Melissa. And hi Kelsey. He was let us know where you're watching from. I would love to know. I don't know a lot of you, and so I'd love to know where you're watching from. But when my son was diagnosed with asthma, he was 18 months, and they first called it reactive airways. And when he was diagnosed with that, I didn't know it was asthma at the time. But when he was 2, he had to have a lot of support with the immunologist because he had an immune disorder, and he also had this asthma that we were dealing with. And what we come to find out is he could not handle the toxin. He was getting overloaded. His body couldn't handle everything. And throughout about a year, we went on this journey where we completely changed our lives, our lifestyle, I should say. I would say we were like your typical American standard diet eaters at the time. And we, oh, by the way, I loved candles. Candles were burning in my house all the time. In fact, I didn't just love them. I worked for a candle company because I loved them so much. And I started interviewing a bunch of moms that had kids with asthma, because this was a new thing for me. It was not in my family, not in my husband's family. And this was 13 years ago. I mean, we had the internet, but it wasn't like it is now. I certainly didn't trust a source on there. So I interviewed a bunch of moms, and what I found out and what I started doing is if a mom said, hey, I switched out my laundry soap, I did it. If a mom said, you need to build up his immune system, I started working on his immune system. So as I collected all the information and I started looking at what was helping with different families, I started incorporating it into my life. Now, it took about a year because a lifestyle change is not going to happen overnight. It's a gradual process. And in fact, I would say we are still gradually trying to improve our health in our home. But number one thing that I found out when I interviewed moms was, I mentioned the laundry soap because that was the number one factor, and I come to learn, is because of the chemicals that are in our laundry soap that I used to love. What was the name of the laundry soap I used to love? Gain. Because it smelled so good. Like, I liked that clean, the stronger, the cleaner, right? So I was using a lot of Gain. I switched out Gain to a natural laundry soap that did not have any fragrance. I started making my own household cleaners. Have you guys seen that study where those who stay at home actually have a higher chance of cancer because of all the cleaning products that you use? And I know you know what I'm talking about, because when you go in and clean that bathroom with those products, it's like, woo, it's so strong. It's like hard to breathe in there. So we went through and kind of changed out our cleaners. I started making my own with the essential oils that I had newly discovered, that I was using also to, hi Jenny, I was using those oils also to boost my son's immune system. Now, we found out that he had an immune disorder that he actually outgrew. We were so thankful for that. but he still struggled with asthma, and he was on 3 different asthma medications. And the reason why I was so bound and determined to get my son off the medications is because he was having some pretty extreme night terrors. Now, if he didn't have these, I will honestly say I would not have gone through all this trouble. I believe that when there are a health crisis, there's a health issue there, that's when we take the extra step to go out of the norm, to break away from what we're used to, have always done, or to really do our research. So when my son was having these night terrors, I was like, I have got to get him off this medication, because that was actually one of the what is it, like when you're prescribed something and then it's not a symptom, what is that called? You know what I'm talking about. It's a side effect. Thank you. Side effect of the medications. And I'm happy to say that within 1 year we were able to get my son off of all 3 of his medications. He's still as needs to have the albuterol, but we are like 18 months between 18 months, usually over a year, maybe once a winter, maybe longer, when he needs to have the albuterol. So thankful for that. And I truly believe it's because of the lifestyle changes that we made. Now, we made, the last thing that I ended up doing, you guys, the very last thing, was to get rid of my candles. That actually didn't come on my list until later. I don't think a lot of people realized what the dangers were of typical candles, to be burning those, even though, and now I burn this instead all day, every day in my house. Isn't this a gorgeous diffuser? I love it. Anyway, so I replaced that with that, and we'll go more into that when we go into our cleaning products, when we talk about that. But I wanted to share my story so you knew a little bit of my background, for those who didn't know me, who haven't heard of it, and why I'm so passionate about it. I have my own story that I will share later, another time. But ladies, what we put on and in our bodies matter. And so I wanted to briefly touch on, throughout this workshop, I'm only going to be referring to Young Living oils, because those are the ones I recommend, those are the ones that I trust, and those are the ones that I've researched. So whenever I'm talking about essential oils, those are the ones that I'm talking about. There's different types of essential oils out there. And some of them are like a fragrant essential oil, where it's not a pure essential oil. You also need to make sure they can call themselves 100% essential oil and still be diluted with other things. So you got to be careful with that. And it's just, you just got to be careful. I went to a friend's house who said that they had some frankincense, and it was a brand I never heard of. I was like, oh, I want to smell a frankincense. And I went, and it didn't smell anything like frankincense. I was like, what is that? That is not frankincense. It like really frightened me a little bit that I'm like, do not put this in your body, because frankincense is an amazing oil. But I was like, I don't even think I would diffuse that. I don't even know what that is. It's not frankincense. And so you got to be really careful. And so I love and trust Young Living. Now, some signs that you would know if you are having toxic overload. So it was coming out as asthma in my son. And we can be going years and years being exposed to these chemicals, and we're running, through our life just fine. We're doing all this, and bam, we're hit with a health crisis. And there's different ways that will show. It could be chronic fatigue is one way, persistent weight gain. I'm looking at my notes over here in case you're wondering. Poor quality sleep. If you're not sleeping well, it could be because you have toxin overload. depression, bad breath. And if you have bad breath, let me know, because I got some good stuff for that. Coated tongue, if your inside of your tongue looks white or yellow. Constipation, sensitivity to odors, muscle pain, skin problems. You guys, if you have skin problems, a lot of the times it's something inside your body needing to come out, or something that's going in your body that your body is having a hard time processing. Your color changes of urine or your feces, water retention, a lot of times because of our liver and our kidneys are the ones that are having to clean all that out. And so if you're having some water retention, that could be it. Okay, so those are just a few. Also, the Cancer Society has come out and said that 90 to 95% of cancers are environmental triggers. Only 5% is genetic. So the good news about that is we do have control a little bit of what we are exposing to our bodies and in our homes. So it's just so important that we are aware of what we're bringing in our home, and that we are minimizing the toxin overload into our bodies, because how in the heck are we supposed to look good when we're not sleeping, right? How are we supposed to show up for the people in our lives if we just feel bleh, you know? If it's just too hard to do that. And what I love, side note here, what I love about looking at some of my leaders in Young Living, when I see what they look like 5 years ago, they look younger. It's absolutely crazy, you guys. If we are looking at our environment and our toxins, it will help us feel better, and you know, our cells rejuvenate, and they could rejuvenate at a better, healthier level. And it's just so cool. It's so cool to see that how we can up that, and we could reverse age. It's amazing, especially when you're 45. It sounds like a great thing. Okay, so it matters what we put on and in our bodies. I'll talk more later too when we go over skincare about different ways that we could, and different recipes of what we can use to put on our skin with ingredients in our home, and you can mix some of those with oils. So that's going to be a fun thing for us to do. So I believe that as we clean out the toxins, not only is my son going to feel better, everybody in my home is going to be optimized with their health. We're able to fight off some of this crud that's running around just because we are healthier, right? And we're going to be able to show up for work. We're going to be able to show up for our families. We're going to be able to create a life that we want to live, the healthier we are. And the other thing I wanted to talk about today is what we put on. I'm part of that is the lotions and things like that I talked about, but it's also our clothing, you guys. This next part, I want to talk about that a little bit, because as a mom, you know, I've always been into fashion. I have a fashion merchandising degree. I worked for Calvin Klein for a number of years, and I traveled around for them for a while. And I just have always just loved fashion. But when I was a mom and I had lots of little kids running around, let's just say that portion of me just got pushed to the side, and I didn't really care what I wore. And I was just so focused on the things that I needed to do that I just deflected off myself. And it got to a point where I went through, I'll get into this later in another time, but where I just went, my health crashed. And as I started coming out of that, the things that I loved started coming back. And the clothing aspect of me started coming back out. And I love that, and I miss that. And I was so thankful to have that, that love that I had after having children come back. And when I noticed is as I started finding the clothes and taking some thought into what I was putting on again, it brought me back to life. And it was such an important aspect. So if you follow my Afton Porter page, you've heard this, the psychology of clothing, but I'm going to share a little bit with you today about that. So there has been a test that was done, a scientific test, a study, that what you put on, and I may have mentioned this in the video if you watched the video, that what you put on actually changes the way that your brain thinks. So when they say dress for success, they're not saying just look the part. You're actually going to act the part when you are dressed the way that you feel like you should be for, you know, whatever role that you're wanting to play. So as far as like, you know, an audition or an interview or that promotion. And so some of my clients are people who are trying to get a promotion because they are needing to change some things about the way they look so that they could show up for their job, and then they're perceived a certain way as well. When during this scientific study, there was a group of people that were given a white coat, and they were told that it was a doctor's coat. When they were tested, they scored higher than the ones who were given the exact same coat, but were told it was a painter's coat. And not only did the people who were wearing the doctor's coat score higher, they actually had to be wearing it. They couldn't have it off to the side. The scores did not reflect any differently than if it was draped in a chair next to them. They physically had to put it on. And so my passion is to encourage women to, it's not about buying expensive clothes, you guys. I want to make sure that you hear me out on that. I don't care where you buy it from, how much it costs, but it's really, really important that you love it and that it is something that you would buy again, and that when you wear it, it makes you feel energized. And some of the things that we'll get into this week is to help you figure out like what kind of clothes do I like to wear and how does it affect me? And we're going to get into one today at the end of this video. So hold on. So when you are wearing a certain style or a certain piece of clothing, it might not be a doctor's coat. I mean, we don't walk around wearing that, but you have certain feelings about certain things. And when you put it on, your natural features of your body are going to come out. I want to bring out your natural beauty that you already have. That's what my goal is. We're not about covering up who you are. We're about bringing out who you are and having it radiate out. And that is affected by certain colors that you're wearing and certain styles that you're wearing. And did I say color? I think I did. Okay, so when you are looking at your total body, okay, we're going to be talking about how you would choose your pieces that's going to help bring that out, because I wish I had my shawls and stuff to show you how I look different in different colors, and maybe I'll do that another day. But so when you're looking at, we want to create a total body image. We want this to mimic what's going on here. We want all this to match and to be one thing. So sometimes when you look at somebody and you might like a shirt or you might like a color, but it stands out too much and the shirt stands out or the color stands out, not the person. Okay, so our goal is to help us choose colors that's going to embody. I'm doing all this with my hands. I hope it's not distracting, but like, so you can see the whole person and not just the shirt or the dress or whatever, right? We're going to see the whole person. So one thing, this is your exercise. You're going to look in the mirror, okay? And you're going to determine, you're going to look at your hair and you're going to look at your skin and you're going to ask yourself, is it a sharp contrast between my skin and my hair, or is it pretty close? Okay. When you look at me, you're gonna see I have makeup on. So if I don't have makeup on, my skin's even more pale. So and my hair's dark. Okay, so there's a strong contrast between my skin and my hair. And because of that, I can wear a zebra shirt and the zebra shirt doesn't stand out. Okay, there's contrast there between the white and the black. And so I'm mimicking what's going on here down here. Those who have similar, like if the more pale you are and the darker hair, the more contrast of clothing you can wear, okay? If your skin tone and your hair tone is very similar, then you will have to wear more muted, less not in color, but less contrasted patterns and colors. Okay, so that's kind of a tip where like some people, they look really good in like those sharp designs and stuff, and you might feel weird wearing that or uncomfortable. It might be that you don't have as much of a contrast. You know, part of that is personal taste, but you probably have learned maybe that doesn't look that good on you, or you know, it's the dress. Maybe the dress would stand out instead of you standing out. If you are African American and you have your skin color matches your hair color, that's the only time I would not recommend. You would look better in in bright colored shirt, and we'll get into colors later. But you can wear more of the bold kind of patterns. So your assignment today is to look in the mirror. Tell me whether or not you have a light contrast where your skin and your hair are really, really close. Whether you're a medium contrast, maybe you have medium skin and dark hair, or maybe you have medium skin and light hair. Okay, then you'd be a medium contrast, because that's going to help you, and we'll get into more of that later. I'm going to actually pull some clothing pieces, but I specifically wore this. See, a medium contrast person would probably look better if this white was more creamy. It will just look more beautiful on them to have more of a creamy instead of the white. And I'm going to post some pictures in the group in a little bit too, so you can see the difference. Maybe that would be better. And then if you have light and light, okay, that would be light contrast. Anybody have any questions on that? Go ahead and post them in here. Let's see. Another fashion tip I'm going to share today, since we're talking about hair, is if you're only going to have one pair of shoes and one purse, you would want to match your hair color. And the reason is because of the same thing I was talking about earlier, is we're looking at the whole total body. We want your whole body to blend in and be one. Now you could use pops of color. That's not what this is all about. So hopefully we can understand, hopefully you're understanding, and if you have a question, ask. But when you have a bag that matches your hair color, your shoes matches your hair color, you're tying everything in and it just looks like a really beautiful ensemble. So, maybe I'll keep going. I have one more thing. So if you have a huge contrast here, you won't want to do a bunch of highlighting around your face, because this contrast that you naturally have, you don't want to mess with that, because that's part of your beauty. You want to like highlight your eyebrows so there's more of a contrast there. It's just going to be more framing. But if you have lighter hair and lighter, you're more of a medium contrast, then you can add a few highlights around your face and it will just continue to soften. But it will just be like, oh girl, okay, Melissa. It's true though. It's true. Maybe that's why I love my red furs. Yes, that's exactly why. And it probably, it blends your whole thing in. And if you would have had a pair of red shoes, you would have been rocking it. But yes, that's what you're doing, is you're, and a lot of times you'll know if you're wearing the right piece is because they'll say, that shirt looks so good on you. Then you're like, okay, write that down, that color, or that it's probably the color or the cut or both. Keep track of that if you're not really sure. If somebody says that I love that shirt, they may mean they love that shirt on you, but it may mean that shirt's a very cute shirt, but it's standing out more than you are. And so there's something that we could probably do to help it make sure it's bringing you out with it. So you're not wearing your clothes. No, your clothes aren't wearing you, but you're wearing your clothes. I'm going to leave it at that. What you put on and in your body matters, ladies. If you have any questions, let me know. I want you to put in the comments your contrast, light, medium, or dark. All right. I will see you back at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.